If you're anything like me, every now and again you see something and you know immediately that you need it in your life. You need the thing, you want it right now, and that is exactly what happened with this, the Chaos Citadel from Dark Fantastic Mills. The Kickstarter is currently running, and I needed this the moment I saw it. As soon as it was announced, I was like, I am going to print so much of this, it's not even funny. A Chaos Citadel is a massive modular set of files that you print at home on an FDM printer. They've been specifically designed so you can print them on smaller printers. They are completely support free, and there are a lot of different parts that are going into this set. You can make a truly gargantuan series of structures with all of the different parts that are available for this. Now, it's worth saying before we go any further that this is not a sponsored video. This is not an ad spot. Dark Fantastic Mills haven't paid me for this. Quite the opposite. If we take a look at Kickstarter, I already pledged to support this. I did reach out to them and say, hey, could I print some of this stuff and make a video talking about it, because I love it. And they said yes, very kindly. So I've had some preview files to have a play around with. So I have the beginnings of a Citadel of my very own, which I'm massively happy about. Now we'll do a brief rundown of all the stuff that you get for this, because there's a lot, and then we'll take a look at what I've done so far. So we have a functional gateway, which is brilliant, by the way. The gates actually opening and closing gives me a kind of childish glee. I really like it. Corner section, larger corner with a platform on top, presumably so people can stand there and fire arrows or guns at people. By the way, this is not just fantasy, this is also sci-fi. The sci-fi elements for this have been unlocked. So if you're thinking to yourself, well, it looks good, but I don't know that I need fantasy scenery, there's sci-fi as well now. Various flavours of wall, corner and tower. I really do like the tall tower. It's really good. And that's before we even get on to the stretch goals, where there's so much stuff. Damaged sections, breached walls, which are really good. The long wall that allows you to kind of turn the wall out the other way means you can extend the wall out and then in again. There's just so many different options, and a lot of it is just like functional, expanding the size and the shape of the Citadel. But there are really cool elements like the sewer entrance, a corner tower, things like ruined watchtowers and stuff. I love that kind of detail. I like that you can make a completely trashed version of a Citadel if you really wanted to. And for some games, like that would be like the choice, right? I've already planned an entire D&D session around the Siege Tower, so that's going to be printed at some point, clearly. There is so much to customize and personalize this for you to make it basically whatever you want to make out of it. And the aforementioned sci-fi details there, which do a lot to change the overall vibe of this. Having those pipes and the vent and stuff, like, it makes a massive difference. It really does. Oh, and walls with teeth, because everyone needs that. I mean, imagine a proper, like, Nurgle fortress. Oh my god. Now, before I show you the start of my Chaos Citadel, I just want to give a quick shout out to my Neptune 3 Plus that Elgu sent me. There will be a video on that on the way. I didn't really set it up all that much. I got it out of the box, I put it together, I put a half-used reel on there, and then I told it to print Chaos Citadel stuff for like a week and a half, and didn't really do anything else with it. But it did successfully produce a nice chunk of Chaos Citadel scenery, and I'm really, really happy with it. It fits together with other sections super easily. You can magnetise it for better grip, which I do plan on doing, but it is super easy to move around, super easy to attach and detach. It's also very strong and supportive. You can just lift the whole thing up from one part, and because of the way the sections interlock, you can just lift the whole thing up. It's really nicely done. Each section is printed in like 3 different parts. So you've got the main wall section or main corner section, then you've got the parapet, and you've got the walkway. The parapet and walkway are super easy to fit onto the wall themselves because there are little guide holes for them, so that works really nicely. Makes it really simple to do. Some of the edges on the parapets and walkways that I printed, they do look a bit rough. That is because of the cheaper reel that I used for them. The PLA that came off it just wasn't as nice. It was like more plasticky, more kind of, it just felt a bit cheap. So when I was trying to tear the brim away on the previous prints, it just peeled away lovely and smooth, whereas the newer reel that I've been using to print with, that in fact left a kind of weird tear on the edge, which I'm not a fan of. I'm half tempted to actually just ditch the other half of that reel because of how nasty a finish it leaves, But that's not a problem with the files or the prints, that's a problem with the material that's being used for them. Now when it came time to paint some of this stuff, I painted 3 pieces because I'm thinking I might have 2 different sets on the go at the same time with different colour schemes. I'm still trying to work out the second colour scheme. But I was inspired by Tin Racer Steve on Twitter, who's been helping out with the Kickstarter, and he did a really nice rust effect for the Citadel, like a really, really good kind of vibrant rust colour for the walls, and he did a short video showing how to do it. Now I really liked that finish, but that's also not the kind of finish that I would typically go for myself, so I decided I was going to try and do a kind of rusty, battered wall section, but how I would normally do it. And I'll say straight away that something I found quite liberating about painting this was just going mental with a big brush, just absolutely going for it. Not even really properly dry brushing, I was tackling this as a kind of, okay, if I had to paint enough for an entire battlefield in one afternoon, how would I do it? And I went back to big old dry brush, not even making it that dry, black base coat, a nice layer of dark metallic silver, then a lighter metallic silver, then going a bit wild with streaking rust. Now, I didn't do it how you would normally use streaking rust. Generally speaking, when you're using that stuff, you want the actual streaks down the front of the wall. But I didn't really feel like I wanted that, and I couldn't really pinpoint why. But I did want that kind of vaguely orange hue without it being kind of properly dry brushed on or anything or stippled. So I ended up just basically putting a bunch of rust under the kind of reinforcing elements with the spikes sticking out, and then just covering the whole thing with it, getting rid of most of it, but just leaving a nice kind of dull orange rusty finish. Now I knew I wanted to use dirty down rust because it's the best thing ever, but I decided before that I kind of wanted to dull things down and make it look a bit more kind of grimy and grubby. So I just got some black, got a really old knackered brush, and kind of dry brushed and stippled over different sections just to try and give it a bit of variation in the overall kind of metallic rusty tone. Then I got the dirty down rust out and properly went all over all of the cracks and the crevices and the divots and the bits that have been carved out, the kind of scars in the metal, which worked super, super well. I'm well happy with how that turned out. The only thing is that left it with a very kind of orange and red and brown kind of overall colour, like it was very warm, but there wasn't a huge amount of variation apart from just different shades of the same colour. So I decided that a thing that might work is putting a bit of Huldra blue on the base of it. So working up from the bottom of the wall and using a fairly translucent blue to just bring a bit of colour to the bottom of it. It actually worked super well, and the more I look at it, the more I wonder whether I should do something similar at the top of the wall with something else, but I'm not sure what colour that should be, so maybe you could leave some suggestions in the comments down below as to what would work from the top down. Not to meet in the middle, but just to provide a bit more contrast. I'm really happy with how it turned out, but I feel like there is room for improvement there, but I'm not sure what to do. I don't want to stick wash all over it, because that would probably, well, that would interact badly with the dirty down rust for a start, but I feel like it needs something else. I'm just not quite decided on what yet. That being said, it's more than enough to stick on the tabletop and use the scenery. The scenery itself is fantastic and looks brilliant, to be honest, even when it's not painted, although of course you should paint your scenery. I'm just excited to be able to print the rest of it now. I just want all the things, all of it. I want to make a massive, gigantic, unfeasibly large battlefield and host some sort of insane 8,000 point game on it, because you know that it would look great. Now there's 7 days left to go on the Kickstarter, and there's still stretch goals to go. So we've got Fighting Pitch currently, which look fantastic. The Bladed Pillar, which again, brilliant. But there's also more and more Ruined Arena Walls. The God Skull Totem. We need that. I think it's fair to say we need that. We need to see what that is immediately. So let's go. Head over to the Kickstarter. There's going to be a link in the description and in the pinned comment. Dark Fantastic Mills make great scenery. If you go to the website, you can see that there is tons of brilliant imaginative stuff. Really high quality. They're not a massive company. This is something that is absolutely worth supporting. So I really do implore you to go over and check it out. Now I'm going to go away and mess about with the colour scheme for the other bits. So wish me luck, and I'll see you for the next one.